Oh yeah, I hear you, and I would hope that would be the case. So did you see the film Waiting for Superman?
I knew you were going to say that. I did, and I saw it at an interesting time in my career. I spent the majority of my career teaching in Montgomery County Public Schools in Maryland, which is one of the top school systems in the nation. That's where I went, that's where I taught, that's where my kids went. And then when this No Child Left Behind business happened, and I wasn't really allowed to be of service to my 5-year-olds the way I wanted to be, I was either going to, pardon this, screw the system or screw my 5-year-olds, and I certainly wasn't going to harm my 5-year-olds. So I ended up resigning and doing the Virtues Project, and then I was in D.C., and I've always thought that Montgomery County in Maryland and Fairfax County in Virginia, two of the strongest counties in the country, should help raise up D.C. And when I had the opportunity to go coach teachers there, I actually gave up my tenure in Montgomery County Public Schools, took a $33,000 cut in salary. Yeah, I'm a little bit crazy. And I went to coach teachers in D.C. Oh, my goodness. Well, first of all, they're really dedicated, and they get a really bad rap. So I saw Waiting for Superman by myself in a theater one afternoon, crying my eyes out, working for D.C. Public Schools. And, it's all, as you're saying, a different perspective. If you hold your hand up and you look at it from one perspective, it's the top of your hand. If you look, it's the side of the hand. If you look, it's the bottom of the hand. Let's all look from a 360-degree perspective. Let's first start with what's working, what's good about what's happening in education. How come it's working? How come it's working here, maybe not here? And now what can we do to raise all boats? So I think in some respects, Waiting for Superman gave us an opportunity to have a conversation, but I think it was single-sided.
Yeah, my observation on all this, take what works and replicate it.
Oh, you mean take what you like and leave the rest? That's not the program.
Whatever is working, because here in the inner cities, we're going to take a break, but we just have to do some station identification. Then we're going to continue with this conversation. You're listening to Another Perspective. We're speaking with Dara Feldman. This is WHCR 90.3 FM New York, the voice of Harlem. We're going to take a short break, and we come right back. Hold on.
Why?
WHCR is doing it again, giving you an opportunity to show your support while having a great time. On Saturday, May 17th from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m., WHCR's house DJs come together to bring you Uptown Saturday Night, a house party fundraiser like no other. You decide how much you want to pay to party. No donation is too large or too small. So grab your dancing shoes, your whistle, and your donation, and dance to the sounds of house and classic dance music by WHCR's DJ Stunner of House in Harlem, the dub master Mike D of Mystic Vibes, and DJ Howie D of The Love Zone. That's Uptown Saturday Night, a house party fundraiser, Saturday, May 17th, 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. at Adar Lounge, located at 1637 Park Avenue at the corner of 116th Street. Remember, your financial support ensures that some of the best music, most informative, and educational programs continue to be heard on this station.
Hi, and we're back. You're listening to Another Perspective, and we're speaking with Ms. Dara Feldman. Are you with us, Dara?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
you get a chance to go get some water, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what happens for me? It's like from what I see, it seems here in New York City, and I know Michelle Reed was down in D.C. from where I look at it, the effort is to destroy the public school system and privatize and bring everything in and turn it into a profit.
You know what? I agree with you that there are many people out there who are trying to do that. Mm-hmm. I went to a conference in Arizona, and it was supposed to be, on education. It was all the people that you've already talked about, so I don't need to name those names again, who were all on this panel talking about, they were teacher bashing, they were union bashing, they were pointing fingers at public education, et cetera, et cetera. I was freaking out. I think I was the only public educator in the room, and it was an unfair, unrealistic perspective. Where is the voice of the public school educator at the table when people are creating these new school reforms? And again, I think that it really does take a village, and it would be beneficial for all of us to sit down together to have a conversation. And I think there's so much opportunity, especially up where you guys are, for transformation. And, when people come and they do things to other people, that's not really honoring. And so you're not going to enroll, you're not going to get folks to make the changes. But when you have a conversation and you have a cohesive, unified vision, that's when real change happens. And I would say, let's listen to the kids. You know what? They are our future, and they have lots to say, but nobody ever really asks them about what they think can be done in education.
Yeah, well, why I say what I said is because for the last 20 years, here in New York City, which is the largest school system in the nation, it has been under a frontal assault. There was Rudy Giuliani who ran the chancellors out, and then eventually he settled on they were like a succession of chancellors who were not qualified. Then after Rudy Giuliani, then Michael Bloomberg came in, and all of a sudden they allowed him to make the decision for the largest school system in the city. Here's a man who's never made a lesson plan,
right.
and for him it was about testing, and closing schools. So I look at all that, and I still receive the UFT newspapers. And everything I see, it's like it's so a lot of my colleagues, and they're demoralized because it's all
Absolutely.
about paperwork. They're untrained administrators. It was terrible, So take that and how does that factor into the school to just take the
water prison pipeline
based on the assault on the system here in New York City, and is that the same in the major public school systems around the country?
It's happening in cities all across the United States. And that exact same thing happened in D.C. public schools. Really, really tragic. I do think that there are some people whose hearts were in the right place, but it's really hard to do education reform when you've never been on the front lines yourself. So I'll just stop right there. And the way that it plays into the school-to-prison pipeline, there are several ways, unfortunately. One is the leadership is coming from a place of bullying, from control, and from threats. And so when you have a leader that's a bully, then you know what trickles down. So everybody is coming from a place of fear. And I don't mean that false evidence appearing real. I mean real fear because of the mandates that were coming down and the pressure. And when you are in a place of fear, when you have all that pressure and the accountability that's unjust, don't have time to really go into why it's statistically unjust and impossible right now. But you can't access your right mind. Your brain, when you're in that fear mode, cannot do your best thinking. And so when teachers are scared also, and they're putting this out in the classroom, then the kids feel it. They're afraid. They don't want to come to school. You know, it's hard for them to learn, so they're not doing their best. Everybody's reacting, and instead of taking a breath, being mindful, which I'm glad there's now a focus on mindfulness, instead of going, okay, wait, why did I go into education? Oh, these are not test scores. These are children. These are lives in front of me. What's happening? Instead of taking the time to do that, when teachers feel either out of control or afraid, they often react, which escalates the situation instead of helping the student to de-escalate and self-regulate and tap into a character quality that would help them at that moment to be successful. And so instead, they yell, they throw the student out, and it becomes that chain reaction. One suspension, the research is just horrible. If you look at one suspension and starting with the dropout, you know, the more time out of classroom, the more likely is when you come back in, you're going to get suspended again, the more likely you're going to end up in prison, the more likely you're going to become an alcoholic, drug addict, do all the unsafe things, etc., etc. And so what is really excruciating is that only, and you guys, I know you know this, and especially in Harlem, only 3% of all black males will graduate from college, and that's in 6 years. But you know how many young black males, or how many black males in their lifetime end up in prison? 1 in 6.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? Like I say, when I look at it, what I see is that, particularly the fact that they allowed a non-educator to make educational decisions here in the city, I don't believe they want an educated citizenry. I think because not something tells them. They understand if you have an educated populace, and as the complexion of the country starts to change, they're going to start to question sexism, racism, homophobia. They're going to start to question unjust policies. So if you frustrate the students, if you frustrate, like the administrators are worrying about their job, and like you say, all that trickles down into the classroom, and you know, students are being suspended. Special education is filled with the majority of the students in special education are males and males of color.
Yep.
So I'm a special ed. That was my I was special ed, learning disabled.
Now I love you even more.
Emotionally handicapped. You know, but so when I see you talking about self-esteem and self-worth and all those kind of things, whereas I would have children come to the class late because they didn't want people to see them walking into the classroom with the small size classes.
Absolutely.
You know, so you know, the other piece is so then you have. When I was teaching, they had it was the RCT, Regents Competency Tests. Now they're having these kids sit for Regents exam, and realistically, we know many of these kids, they're not going to be able to pass it. So why traumatize these kids to sit for these exams when you know that they don't have, you know, so many of them don't have the skills there. And the other piece is when I hear people talking about teacher merit in terms of you know, basing teacher evaluation on the teacher's student performance, and I'm saying, well, what? I don't hear them say nothing about the special ed teachers who still students are not going to be, you know, I mean, hey,
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't want to go there, but let's go there because you brought it up, and I'm so with you.
I opened that can of worms, didn't I?
Yeah. But I think people need to know. So one of my teachers, and I'll make it personal so that people can see a picture. One of my teachers, when I coached in D.C., she was a fourth grade teacher. She was excellent. When her master educator came in to observe her, she got, really high-flying scores. When she took her kids up, they were fourth graders. They came to her reading several grade levels below, many of them on kindergarten level. And she had many students who were identified as special needs, and our entire school was, African American and Latino. So, and she was the favorite teacher voted by everybody in the school. She was deemed ineffective because she was at a testing grade level, and even though she had brought the majority of her students up in reading to grade levels, because they could not access the test, it was too difficult to read a fourth grade level, on level, they performed poorly on that, we can't call D.C. a state, but basically on the state exam, and she got let go.
Yeah,
out on probation for 2 years. They froze her salary, and then she got let go, and that happened all the way across the district.
Yeah, they brought in a lot of. They came in with the business model.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about, like you're saying, about the the students and the because sometimes I'd come in and I'd always remind myself. I said, well, I don't know where these kids came from, what they experienced before they came into the classroom. So I have to be mindful of that. What did they eat? Was there turmoil? Was there chaos in the home? And so it's a whole lot of things. Whereas, like you said, you need someone compassionate, someone with a heart, like your title says, someone with a heart. With
a heart and strategies, though, because I think one of the things that I did learn coaching in D.C. was, my ability to support my teachers, help them to be compassionate and understanding, but also give them the skills so that they could help our students learn how to read, how to write, and, how to do math, because especially without the reading, writing, and speaking piece, our kids wouldn't be successful. And when I was a classroom teacher working always in high poverty, high impact schools, I was a little overly compassionate. So I knew that you were up all night because your mom was a prostitute, an alcoholic doing tricks with you in bed. I was going to let you sleep through class. Yeah. Well, you know what? Now I don't do that anymore, because if I let you sleep through class, you're not going to learn. So I got to figure out a different way to support you, to get you someplace safe, to let you take a nap, and maybe if I let you sleep through class, then we got to hang out after school so that you learn how to read.
Question. Testing. I was reading an article. There was an article yesterday or in today's paper. There's a high school here in the city, because it was 9th and 10th graders, and the teachers opted out from taking the standardized tests, the ELA, and they said it was just unfair, because we've been having that kind of reaction up here. Also, in terms with parents opting out of the testing, whereas the trauma that's been going on with children coming in, they put so much anxiety and fear in these kids about, if you don't pass these tests, you're not going to the next grade, and everything is testing. Is that you guys having that same kind of? You getting a rebuttal from the parents in terms of the testing? You still with me, Dara?
Yes, it's me. Turn it down.
Turn down. Hello.
All right. Oh yes, I'm right here. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, look, I just want to share with your guests. I loved your guests. Because this is what's keeping it real.
What's your name?
This is Hayat, my brother.
Hey, how you doing, Yaya?
Yes, Hayat. I was a paraprofessional in the 80s, and as far as I'm concerned, there was nothing wrong with those students. Really, they just needed the real attention, and a whole bunch of the went along with it. And your guest right now, can you hear me?
Hi, you with us, Dara?
I am. I think we got so heated up that we fried the telephone line.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
calling.
When you mention about the children, they come into school because their parents is doing tricks and running tricks and this, that, and the other is the case. You putting it very gently on what they really actually experience at a very young age, darling. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Just to lay it out like that is the honesty. I don't hear nobody saying, especially women. They want to be cute about, but this is the reality. Mm-hmm. And you really can't blame them for really actually having a warped sense of reality. When somebody says, don't use the B word when you're dealing with women. Things like that, it's. Thank you, sweetheart. This is all I want to share with you. Thank you so much for your honesty.
Thank you for your kindness. And,
Thanks
we got to keep
listening.
it real, to meet our kids where they're at.
Exactly.
And give them an opportunity to know that there's something different, to know.
Yeah.
Dara, you still there?
Dara?
Dara?
Yeah, we just got a little
technical
break.
difficulty.
You're listening to WHCR 90.3 FM. This is Another Perspective. And we're speaking with Dara Feldman, and we're talking about education. And and that whole that whole quagmire sometimes
Absolutely.
with education. You back with us, Dara?
Conversation's
I'm
getting
not
so
leaving.
heated.
Just get in my car and come up and go face to face.
Yeah, this conversation is getting so heated we're frying the wires.
So are you guys getting any response? Are the parents getting a little annoyed with this constant? And the whole thing is the only thing they're testing
parents
is.
are, and the thing is, this is around across the country.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the ASCD symposium yesterday about the whole child, and the statistics are really alarming. The suicides that are happening as a result, the kids who are on medication. No kid should be on medication, but that's another talk. The kids who are seeing therapists, who have anxiety, who are cutting, all of this. And a lot of it has to do, with some of the stuff going on at home, but a lot of it is this undue pressure on these testing. What's meaningful can't necessarily be measurable, and what's measurable isn't necessarily meaningful.
Exactly.
And so, I think that the parents need to have a greater voice, and the kids need to have a greater voice. And teachers, we need to have the courage to stand up and say, it's not what we're doing to our kids.
And so many times, I know Bloomberg, he was a great guy for statistics, and he would talk about how many people pass the Regents, blah, blah, blah. And then when the kids go into college, they have to take remedial courses.
Yeah.
So that says it's all about smoking, smoking mirrors.
Oh, and this whole thing with, what is it, Time Magazine or whoever, Newsweek, I think, who does like the greatest high schools, it's the number of AP classes that you take. They're watering down the APs.
No question.
And the kids who, aren't taking the APs or whatever, they feel like, what? And we all learn differently. We all have our gifts. That's what we could benefit from teaching in our schools. And I just really hope that this education revolution, that people will get on board. And if not, I'm really not worried, because our kids, they're going to change the system.
Yeah.
They're not going to put up with it.
I'm going to read something to you. This is in this week's Amsterdam. The Amsterdam is an African-American weekly paper that comes out. And we have a new chancellor now. Her name is Carmen Farina. And her story somewhat in terms of she had a mentor, a teacher, who told her, who encouraged her to go into education, and because whoever the counselor was did not encourage her to take meaningful courses. She was taking typing and non-academic courses. But anyhow, so let me just, in response to, she wrote an open letter to the teachers, because I think last week it was Teacher Appreciation Day, and I'm going to read some of it. And it says, thanks to our proposed contract with the Teachers Union, we will be able to deliver unparalleled professional learning. Teachers will have a 75 to 80 minute block of time every week to share successful practices. You'll have more time for parent engagement. You can even schedule appointments. In addition, the new contract offers excellent educators formal opportunities to hone their classroom practices, develop their leadership skills, and collaborate and support other educators to improve student achievement. And then she says, we'll give you more tools you need to succeed, including town halls just for teachers and unprecedented on-the-ground support. What do you think about that?
Well, if she can make that happen, I think that would be really powerful. One of the runner-ups for your guys' school system was the superintendent of our school system, Joshua Starr. And one of the lessons learned here is you can have a lot of heart, you can have a big vision, but unless you actually have the budget for and you build in the time, then it's all talk. So I'm hoping that, New York City will make the investment in our future and get really clear about actualizing what's on that piece of paper. And I would love to come up and be of service in the professional development arena.
We have a new mayor, we have a new chancellor, so they're going to hopefully, hopefully they're going to try to, they can't undo what Bloomberg and Giuliani did, because they've destroyed the lives of hundreds of thousands of youngsters here in this city.
So I'm going to pause that thought for a minute. I'm going to be assertive here. So a lot of your listeners are in recovery, and I would venture to say that many people in recovery, pre-recovery, would have thought that their lives were really horrible. In recovery, I think most people realize that all of that pain actually was a gift. So my hope, and I got the optimism virtue card before we started talking, is that all of what you just talked about, all of the hurt and the harm that happened actually is grist for the grist mill of character, and it's going to help those young people to really develop a life of meaning and purpose and to make changes in a positive way.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope that works out that way. It's just that sometimes I'm normally optimistic, but sometimes it's like when I see just the day-to-day strife that youngsters in this city have to endure and go through. So I can see how so many times the dropout rates and the reaction or the defiance to what's being done to them, so I can see that.
Absolutely. And that is the reality. There's a lot of, I wish I could use profanity, but I'm not.
And no, we can't. The FCC won't allow it.
No, they won't.
It's like the 7 deadly words of George
really
Carlin.
Painful going on. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to force us to think out of the box, hopefully use the 5 strategies of the Virtues Project and other good work that's out there to help people remember who they truly are, that we are spiritual beings having this physical experience. And part of my work is to get with educators, especially who teach young children, to give them the language and the tools to let these kids know that absolutely they are co-creators of their future, of their lives, and when we can be mindful about the words that we used, and that's why I paused you and I apologize for being rude. When we can be mindful and say we're committed instead of try, because the opposite of try is fail. Mm-hmm. when we say, "Oh, he's so stubborn," rewind. Wow, that child is so determined.
Exactly.
Put it in the light of a strength. Then the whole energy shifts and the paradigm shifts. And I really feel hopeful, even though there's some really tragic stuff happening, that with this higher consciousness, when we bring it into public education, we can make a real meaningful transformation.
How can someone get in contact with you so they can get some more information or to find out about the Virtues Project?
Oh, thank you for your thoughtfulness asking. So one of my websites is darafeldman.com, DARA, F as in Frank, ELDMAN.com. My email is dara@darafeldman.com. And even though I'm leaving the country for the next 2 weeks, I'll give people my cell phone, 301-529-1302. My book's on Amazon. If you want it and you don't have the money to pay for it, you have an email address, email me, tell me, and I'll send it to you, send you a PDF. I love doing work. I love this work, and I would love to come to Harlem because for me, the most under-supported youth, that's where my heart is.
Right.
And I know that the folks who work with these folks usually have incredible compassion. And so to be able to bring some tools and strategies to help the adults also put their oxygen masks on would be really inspiring for me. Do we have time to do a virtues pick by any chance?
The next show is coming in, so we don't have to reschedule. We'll do this another time. We have to come back.
Invite me up so I can give you guys hugs in person.
Okay.
I'm grateful
Sounds
for your
good.
openness to having me on the show.
Producer,
and just feeling the dignity that you all put out it and share with other people. So blessings to you all.
And
Thank you
Kadir
very
will get in contact with you, and
Okay.
we'll arrange you come up here and enjoy the culture up here.
I would love that. I would
Yeah,
really be
but
grateful.
you have to bring
And
some- you have to
VChannel,
bring some
my
crab
partner's
cakes,
up there
though.
in Brooklyn, making really cool videos of kids with kids. So the vchannel.com is also connected in this work, and that's for our next conversation.
Okay, but remember you have to bring some crab cakes.
I'll bring you some crab cakes, whatever you want.
Okay.
Are you guys saltine and mustard men, or are
Of
you?
course. I mean, we're talking about crab
Right.
cakes here. Okay, so it was nice to be speaking. You have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Okay,
Lots of love.
thanks for calling.
Take care.
Peace
Bye-bye.
and blessings. Yeah. Okay. So we 411 Harlem 411 is in their seats.
Absolutely.
So but before we go, we want to remind you that Brothers in Recovery, we're having our 26th annual spiritual retreat, men's spiritual retreat.
Yes, we are.
And that's from the June 20th, the 21st, and the 22nd of June. Okay, and the phone number to contact is 347-661-1637. 347-661-1637. This Sunday, Mother's Day. It's a very, very special day, an important day. And we're honoring mothers at the Harlem State Office Building. That's Adam Clayton's Powell Jr. State Office Building. That's located in 125th and Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard. And it starts at 1 o'clock, and that'll be in the art gallery. That's on the second floor. You will need identification. So bring mothers, bring your sisters, bring your daughters, bring your nieces and your cousins, and also bring those young men to come on and spend a day with us. And it's going to be free refreshments. The admission is a great price. It's free. So